It was supposed to be just another ordinary evening at the most luxurious restaurant in town. Crystal chandeliers, glowing, soft piano music filling the air, and whispers of the city's elite sharing laughter over fine wine. But then, something happened that no one could have imagined. The billionaire, known for his unmatched wealth and influence, slid his platinum card across the table. And the machine beeped. Declined. A stunned silence fell across the room. Waiters froze, eyes widened, and the air grew heavy with disbelief. The man who seemed to have everything suddenly looked helpless. And just when embarrassment threatened to crush him, a tiny voice cut through the tension, one that belonged not to another millionaire, but to a poor little girl clutching a few crumpled dollar bills in her small hand. The room stayed frozen in silence. Waiters exchanged nervous glances, as if unsure whether to continue serving or quietly slip away. Some wealthy guests covered their smirks with napkins. Others leaned closer to whisper in disbelief. The billionaire James Whitmore, known across the city for his towering skyscrapers and endless fortune, sat there stiff, his face suddenly pale. He tried to laugh it off. "There must be some mistake," he said, his voice cracking as he handed the card again. The machine beeped once more, declined. A ripple of shock spread through the elegant restaurant. For years, James had been the symbol of endless success, the man people admired from a distance but rarely approached. Yet in this moment, all the prestige, all the titles, all the expensive suits seemed to melt away. He looked human, vulnerable. At the far end of the dining hall, a little girl in a faded pink dress clutched her worn-out teddy bear. She wasn't supposed to be there. Her mother cleaned tables at the restaurant, often bringing her along when she couldn't afford childcare. The little girl, Emily, had been coloring quietly in a corner, unnoticed by the glittering crowd. But when she saw the tall man at the center of attention looking so helpless, her innocent heart stirred. She tugged at her mother's sleeve, whispering, "Mama, that man looks sad. Can I help him?" Her mother hushed her gently. "Sweetheart, it's not our place." But Emily, only 7 years old, didn't understand the world's rules about power and status. To her, sadness was sadness no matter if you were poor or rich. She walked forward, her tiny shoes clicking softly on the marble floor. Until the entire room turned to see her, Emily stopped right in front of James's table. The room grew quieter than before, so quiet that even the clinking of glasses halted mid-air. Her small hands trembled, but her eyes were steady, filled with a kindness that only a child could carry. "Here," she said softly, reaching into the pocket of her little dress. From it, she pulled out 3 crumpled dollar bills and a few coins, her allowance money that she had been saving for weeks to buy a new set of crayons. Gasps echoed across the room. The sight of a poor little girl offering her last few dollars to a billionaire whose black card had just been declined was almost unbelievable. James blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. "Sweetheart, what are you doing?" His voice cracked, caught between embarrassment and awe. Emily stretched out her tiny hand, placing the money on the table. "You look sad. And Mama says when someone is sad, we should try to help. You can use my money." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Some lowered their eyes, ashamed of their earlier whispers. Others held their breath, waiting to see how the billionaire would respond. For James' moment felt like a mirror shattering. All his life, he had been surrounded by people who wanted something from him: business partners, investors, opportunists. But this was different. A child with nothing to gain was offering him everything she had. He knelt down so he could look her in the eye. His expensive suit brushed the floor, but he didn't care. "Emily, I don't even know what to say. You're giving me your crayons money?" She nodded, her eyes glistening. "Crayons can wait. You look like you need it more." The billionaire's throat tightened. A lump of emotion rose that he couldn't swallow back. For the first time in years, James Whitmore, the man who owned half the skyline, felt tears prick the corners of his eyes. For a moment, the grand restaurant felt frozen in time. Waiters stood still, the clinking of cutlery faded, and every single pair of eyes locked onto the billionaire and the little girl James gently picked up the crumpled dollar bills from the table, holding them as if they were priceless treasure. His hands shook not from weakness, but from the weight of what the gesture meant. He looked back at Emily. "Do you know what you just did?" he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Emily tilted her head, confused. "I helped." "Isn't that what people are supposed to do?" The simplicity of her answer hit him harder than any business failure, harder than any corporate betrayal. In her little world, there was no pride, no ego, no calculating of gains and losses, just pure humanity. A murmur spread across the restaurant. Some of the richest people in the city, who moments ago were silently judging, now found themselves wiping at their eyes. They had yachts, mansions, and overflowing bank accounts, yet none of them had the courage to step up with the innocence this child had just shown. James swallowed hard, his chest heaving. He stood tall, then turned to the stunned crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice firm but emotional, "this little girl just taught me and all of us what true wealth really means. It's not measured in dollars or cards. It's measured in compassion." The room went dead silent again. You could almost hear hearts beating faster. James reached into his wallet and pulled out not just another card, but a checkbook. His pen moved quickly across the paper. He knelt down again and slipped it into Emily's small hand. She looked at the paper, not fully understanding. Her mother gasped when she saw the numbers. It wasn't just money, it was a life-changing gift, enough to cover years of rent, food, and schooling. "Emily," James said softly, "you gave me everything you had. I want to make sure you and your mom never have to worry again. From today on, your crayons, your dreams, your future, they're all safe." The little girl's eyes widened, then welled with tears. "But I only gave you $3. James smiled, tears now streaming down his face. "And that $3 was worth more than anything I've ever owned." The restaurant erupted into applause. Strangers stood, clapping with tears in their eyes. Even the staff, who had been serving in silence, joined in. For once, it wasn't the billionaire who owned the spotlight, it was the little girl in the pink dress, with her big heart and crumpled dollars, as the applause echoed through the restaurant. Emily's mother rushed forward, pulling her daughter into her arms. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Sweetheart, do you even understand what you just did?" Emily hugged her tightly. "I just wanted to help, Mama." James placed a reassuring hand on the mother's shoulder. "Ma'am, your daughter's heart is bigger than this entire room combined. She reminded me of something I lost a long time ago." The mother blinked back tears, unsure how to respond. Life had been a constant struggle, juggling bills, working long hours, making sacrifices for Emily. And yet, in her daughter's innocence and bravery, she saw a truth more valuable than anything money could buy. One of the waiters leaned toward another and whispered, "I've served this man for years. Never seen him like this before." James turned back to the room full of onlookers. "How many of us," he said, his voice carrying a quiet strength, "walk through life with full wallets but empty hearts? Tonight, a little girl showed us that giving even when you have so little is the truest form of wealth." Heads nodded. A few people bowed their heads in shame, realizing that while they had plenty, they had done nothing. The billionaire knelt one last time before Emily. "From now on, I want you to dream as big as you can. Don't ever hold back. And remember, this world needs more hearts like yours." Emily's small face broke into the brightest smile. "Then maybe, when I grow up, I can help people too." James's voice cracked as he answered, "You already have." The little girl's coins and crumpled bills lay on the table like sacred treasure. They weren't just money anymore. They were a symbol of love, of humility, of everything that mattered most. That night, as James walked out of the restaurant beside Emily and her mother, the paparazzi who usually hounded him for pictures snapped away. But for the first time, the headlines weren't about a billionaire's luxury car or his next business deal. They were about a poor little girl who taught a man with everything that true riches could only be measured in kindness. In a world obsessed with wealth and status, sometimes it takes the smallest hands to remind us of the biggest truths. Kindness costs nothing, yet it can change everything. A billionaire's card may fail, but the currency of compassion never declines.